propaganda, people believe against the evidence of their own senses that the moon is a physical terra firma planetoid capable of walking on. 2. Basic physics proves that not only has man never flown to the moon, but that the entire concept of a vacuum of space is impossible. NASA and modern astronomy claim that the Earth's atmosphere spins perfectly along with the Earth up to an indeterminate height where it allegedly meets the vacuum of space. Anyone who has punctured an aerosol canister knows, however, that a positive pressure system adjacent to a negative pressure system must have a solid barrier separating them, or else they will equilibrate. Furthermore, at ground level, this spinning atmosphere supposedly travels around 1,000 miles per hour and increases in speed with altitude, so that by 250 miles high, where they claim the International Space Station orbits, the atmosphere and everything in it are allegedly traveling a ridiculous 17,500 miles per hour, the speed of a bullet. This means the astronauts in their rockets were traveling faster than a speeding bullet when finally they popped out of the Earth's spinning, pressurized atmosphere and into the non-spinning, non-pressurized, non-atmosphere of the vacuum of space. Even if they could somehow survive such a transition, once in the supposed vacuum of space, it would be impossible to continue steering, because all propulsion systems require the air in the atmosphere to push against. In a vacuum, there is no such counterforce, so all propulsion, rather than sending the rocket forward, would instead send it spinning wildly and randomly out of control. In recent years, NASA has attempted damage control regarding this issue by now claiming that the moon is actually still within the Earth's atmosphere. But this doesn't change the fact that they stood by this impossible claim for decades. 3. The amount of radiation claimed to exist in space, especially through the so-called Van Allen belt, was far too strong for the astronauts' flimsy suits. Starting at an altitude of 1,000 miles up to approximately 15,000 miles, NASA claims there exists a deadly band of radiation that would kill or seriously injure anyone passing through in a matter of minutes. One Russian study stated that the amount of radiation present on the moon would require astronauts to be clothed in 4 feet of lead in order to avoid instant death. John Malden, a NASA physicist, said they would need at least 2 meters of thick shielding around them at all times, yet we see them on film bouncing around the moon in their 2-inch thin suits. Even James Van Allen himself continued to state until his death in 2006 that there was no way humans could survive the 90-minute journey through and another 90-minute journey back through the radiation belt without being completely encased in thick lead shielding. 4. Temperatures on the moon supposedly range from 279 degrees below zero during the nighttime, which is far colder than even Antarctica's coldest winter, and up to 243 degrees above zero at lunar midday, which is hotter than boiling water. NASA claims their special suits were fitted with both heating and cooling systems, but nothing which could come close to withstanding these incredible temperatures. The suits were also supposedly pressurized to keep the vacuum non-pressure of space from bursting their blood vessels, but they clearly have deep creases and wrinkles all over. Astronauts in true pressurized suits would look like the Michelin Man, bubbling out and very inflexible. Also, it is impossible for the Kodak film in their cameras to have survived these extreme temperatures without melting or freezing. 5. In images from Apollo 11, Buzz Aldrin can be seen wearing different color gloves and different length boots in pictures that were supposedly taken within minutes of each other. For example, in photo AS11-40-5873, Aldrin is wearing high boots and dark gray gloves. But just 2 pictures later, in AS11-40-5875, he has changed into smaller boots and white gloves. If Buzz was really in the vacuum of space in a pressurized spacesuit, he certainly would not have had time or reason to to depressurize and repressurize his suit just to make these fashion adjustments. 6. None of the Apollo missions brought any extra studio lighting with them on the lunar lander, so the sun should be the only light source on the moon, and in all pictures taken there. In this case, the light should only come from one direction, and all shadows should be cast in the opposite direction. However, in dozens of official NASA photos, there are shadows being cast in up to 3 directions simultaneously. Often, the moon reveal clear photo trickery. By gradually removing the hues comprising black from the backgrounds, a bright rectangular artifact appears around the Earth, proving it to be a composite image. For example, Apollo 11 photo AS11 446642, when manipulated in Photoshop, shows a distinct separation line where the Earth was added into the image. Another example is Apollo 17 image AS17 134 2471, which, when enhanced and edited, shows an unmistakable rectangular artifact around the Earth, proving it to be another doctored composite photograph. 11. In the original Apollo 16 photo AS16 107 174 46, there is a rock with a letter C clearly engraved into it, as well as another C drawn into the dirt next to it. This is characteristic of fake stage rocks on a stage setup, where the set designer demarcates prop positions, and of course not something that would ever be found on the moon. After being exposed for this, NASA doctored the 2 C's out of their official version of the photo, but copies of the original photo are still available online. 12. Speed adjustment. There is a quote-unquote low-gravity illusion, as the astronauts seem to float, drift, and glide slowly and smoothly along. But once they are seen at 2 times speed, it becomes clear that they are in quote-unquote normal gravity, walking, running, jumping, and cruising at normal speeds. NASA simply reduced the play speed by 50% in